Hey guys, it's good to see you again. I've been gone for a minute and I've been working on a portrait drawing course that is still in the works. It's almost done. It'll be coming out soon. It's been taking a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of anatomy work too. And that's what today is about. It's about anatomy of the face, and most of it's about the facial expressions, and that's why I'm doing like this weird face. I'm trying to make that one of the Platysma Muscle bands to show up on the neck, and also talking about the levator muscles and just a bunch of other cool stuff that is on our faces. So the video starts off with the initial lay-in of the head, and then it starts with anatomy. So if you want to skip over the lay-in portion of this video, just click on the timestamp below, and then you'll just go right to the anatomy. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks guys, and it's great to see you again. It's great to be back, and I'll be posting on the regular, I promise. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do just a very basic lay-in at first, and then really get into the muscles and anatomy, and kind of review some of the probably the bony eminences on the head as well. To start off, I'm going to start off with the circle first. And now I'm going to look for the angle of the brow. And I do have a crazy expression, and the eyebrows are arching, but I'm looking at the inside beginning of the brow on the left and the right, and finding that angle and bringing it down. And then I'll cut that circle in half, and this line is going to represent the brow. And next I'm going to find the center line of the face right between those two inside corners of the brow, running down to the chin, and it's pretty much straight up and down for the most part. So now we have what's called the cross of the face. If I can draw a straight line, there we go. And now on this line, I'm going to look for the thirds of the face. Starting at the hairline to the brow is the top third. Then the brow line to the bottom of the nose would be the middle third, and then down to the chin from the bottom of the nose to the chin, that will be the bottom third. So I'm guessing about where that will be right now. And now I'm going to use my pencil and thumb technique to measure those out in comparison and see how they look related to each other. So from chin to the bottom of the nose, then I'm going to compare that to the top third of the brow to the hairline. It's a little bit above that, so it's about right here. So let me check the middle third. So I'm going to check from bottom of the nose to the brow. Okay, so the middle third is about the same as the top third. And now I'm going to check the bottom third, because that is definitely the longest, especially since the mouth is is open slightly with the crazy duck lips. And that comes to right about here. From bottom of the nose to maybe a little bit shy, about right there. So I can come down. Oh, I got it pretty much where, okay. That doesn't happen all that often. So when I measured with my pencil and thumb against the image across the room on the TV, I measured from the bottom of the chin to the bottom of the nose and compared that to the middle third, and it came to about right here on the forehead. So we have these two being really close to being equal, and then the bottom third is the longest. So it's not always three equal divisions. It depends on the angle, if the mouth is open, and on the person, the type of person, of how they look. Like sometimes people have a really short nose, sometimes they have a really long face, so it really just depends. Okay, so next we're going to measure the width of the face. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to sketch in the basic shape of the keystone and the nose. The keystone shape is that kind of a wedge shape between the eyebrows, like right here. And then I have the angle of the bridge of the nose. Let's take our time and try to get it really close. The rhythm for the main cartilage, and then for that wing of the nostril. So we got something like that. So what I'm going to do now is measure from this point on the nose to where I think the back side of the jaw, the ramus of the mandible, and which is that line right before the ear. So if the ear was somewhere over here, I'm going to look at this distance from here through the tip of the nose, and then compare that from the bottom of the chin and see where it lines or where it falls somewhere around here. I'm guessing because the jaw is open, so it's a little bit wider, it'll probably fall somewhere below the brow line. So let's go ahead and check that. So yes, it's right about where the root of the nose is, maybe just a little bit above it, but right there. We'll come over here and check, and we got pretty close. So sometimes you get lucky and it works out. So I just need to check that angle using my pencil, holding it up to the image right along the border of that front side of the ear, then bring that down and check. And then I'm going to sketch lightly the angle of the jaw, then the bottom over here. And the nose lines up really well on the cheek, which makes it a little bit easy for us, easier. And that kind of swoops down. It's like this nice S curve right here. I'm going to remeasure that jaw, or from the chin to the nose, and compare it again, because I think it's a little too long now that I have the jaw in. I'm going to leave it for now. I might trim it up a little bit as I move along. I think when I put the lips in, then I can get a better idea of where the bottom of the chin is. But for right now, I'll just leave it like that. Let's go up to the forehead and kind of work on that contour. So I'm looking at where the hairline is and the forehead. The front of the forehead meets up with the hair in comparison. So I'm making a vertical line, a plumb line, and it's about right here. It's pretty far back. So let's sketch in that contour of the forehead, and then it turns a corner right about here. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun doing these self-portraits like this. This is really going to be fun since it's a dissection. Okay, so I got the hairline right about there, and the hair kind of sweeps back right about here. So now, before I get into all that, I want to look for the top and the bottom of the ear in relationship to the nose placement. So a vertical, or not vertical, but a horizontal line like this straight across, And I'm going to see where that lines up with the ear in relationship to the nose. It actually lines up to the mouth. The very top duck lip at the top here. So it's probably right about here. So I can come straight across. So that's the bottom of the ear. I'm going to do the same thing for the top ear, top of the ear. This is a horizontal line straight across. And it's right underneath the eye. So I can guesstimate where that is, since I don't have the eye in just yet, but I think it's probably about right there. So I'm going to do a very soft block in so that I can change it later without making a lot of hard marks where I have to like do a lot of erasing. So that's just a placeholder for right now. And now I can see about where the back of the head is in relationship to the back of the ear. And it makes this little turn right here. Look at that angle. And then the neck comes down. I'm going to go into the trapezius. And then I'll come on the other side and just do a basic sketch of the neck. And the shoulder comes out about right here. So we're sort of sitting at an angle. So now I'm going to look for the sternum, the pit of the neck. And I'm going to use another vertical line to find its relationship to the rest of the face. And somewhere right on the corner of the eye. So it's along this line. And now I'm going to measure from the mandible edge to the sternum and compare that to the length of the bottom third. And it's almost exact. So come down here. So the sternum is right about here. So it's like this little C curve for the sternum. And then, of course, right here on the side we'll have the clavicle. Just do something basic for right now. Maybe it's more of a circle. And then the other side. And that clavicle looks like it's angled up a little bit more. The shoulder's up higher. Okay. So we got that. So you can see how wide the neck is. And right away I can see I need to bring this over. It's a little too far out. Let's see, let's bring this in. This comes over. And like so. Actually, I think this clavicle should be a little bit flatter of an angle. I keep trying to give myself a thick neck. Okay, I'm going to bring this in just a touch. Grab a different pencil. That one had like a little hard stone in it, and it'll scratch the paper pretty bad. So I need to like tune that pencil up. So I just grabbed another one. Need to get that hard stone out of there before I continue. So that's why it's good to have extras on the ready. So you can just grab one and keep going. So you can see this little angle change in the jaw with the masseter, and it comes down into the chin again. So let's go ahead and work on the back side of the head. It's kind of round. I'm going to measure from this portion of the ear right here to the top of the hairline. Not hairline, but the edge of the hair, the border of the top of the hair. And compare that, let's say, to the bottom third. And we get something like that. So yeah, we're pretty close. Checking the angle of the hair. Do that far side orbit. And let's see, let's do a little sweep. Try to get the brows. And they're really light. You can barely see the eyebrows. Just gonna take those lines out. Okay. So I'm going to work on this nose a little bit. I think I had it a little too small. Take out that center line, reference line that we had. And just your basic nostril shape. All right, so I'm going to sketch now the top lip and just the lips in general. Let me see here. Clean that up a little bit before I get going. I feel like this might be too long, which might mean that this needs to be a little bit wider. Okay, that looks better. And I think I need to bring the brow down just a touch. Maybe like right here. So there's a lot of adjusting, right, as you draw. So it's good to do these lay-ins where you're not being fully committed to a line. You just sketch in real light, and then as you move on and you get more information down, you have more things to compare against. And then you can make your adjustments. And then the upper lip comes to about right here. I have the philtrum. And you can see that corner of the mouth, the upper lip it overlaps the cheek on the far side. And then now I'm looking at the relationship of this corner of the mouth in relationship to the outside of this nostril here. And it looks like it sits out not too far, maybe about right here. Now I have to remember to keep everything, all the features lined up on that same horizontal tilt, the same tilt angle, I should say. It's really important. So corners of the mouth all the way through. Okay. I still don't like this, feels too long. So I'm going to adjust before we get further along. I'm going to bring it down. because I can see a little ledge on the bottom eye. It's right about there. That tells me I need to bring the brows down. So that changes, it changes my measurements, so I have to recheck them. And that's okay. Let's come through here. That's the root of the nose. And then from there you have the keystone shape right here. And then the brow on this side starts about right here. And it comes up to its little arch, peaks about right there, and then comes on the other side. And it's pretty much in the same spot. It's not off by that much, but let's go ahead and make our adjustments. I'm going to check again the middle third and compare it to the top third. Okay, so I need to bring the hairline down a bit. Nice. Okay, let's go back down to the lips. So you can see how like you can just keep making adjustments as you go, and as you put features in, you get more information, and just take your time and remeasure, reposition things, and it'll work out in the end a lot better than trying to make something work that isn't in the right place, and then later finally deciding that you're going to change it, but you already put in a bunch of tone or a bunch of value, and then it gets really dicey. So, and it takes a long time to fix once you get all that tone down. So it's good to just take your time and work on it in the lay-in phase first. So let's come down here for the bottom lip. It has like this rhythm. This overlaps. And again, this bottom lip, just like the upper lip, is overlapping the far side cheek. I can definitely see that. Let's see, maybe I need to bring that. Yeah, I need to trim up the chin a little bit. There's a rhythm for the chin just to see the size relationship. Okay, let's draw the teeth in. Let's see, so the first incisor right here. Actually, I need to bring it down just a little bit, because you can see the gums. And then, yeah, that second incisor on the side. And then that canine. It looks so funny. Let's see. The expression. Let's see. Okay, so the bottom teeth, the bottom incisors. Come over here. Then we got the one on the side. You don't have to draw every detail on the teeth, especially for this exercise. We're going to focus on the anatomy and not on teeth. Okay. And we have this little rhythm here. You can already see from this pose, you can see some of the muscle, the triangularis muscle right here coming off. Already, it's already there, right up front and flexed, or not flexed but pulled. Let's see, let me just get this. This comes around. And this comes over. Okay. Let's work on the eyes. So let me take an angle from the Cupid's bow. Cupid's bow is right here. So from the center of that Cupid's bow, and I'm going to take an angle where the pencil is going to pretty much line up on this line, go right starting from the Cupid's bow to the outside of the nostril, all the way to the eye, and see if it touches the eye, touches the outside corner, or how close we are to that eye. And it looks like it touches the corner. So I can take a straight line, and we know the corner of the eye is on this line somewhere. And let's come over here and draw the ball of the eye. He's looking like a psycho right now. That's awesome. So let's go on this far side eye and sketch in basic shape. And it kind of has this little C curve. The corner of the eye is on the other side of the bridge of the nose. You don't see it, but we know it's there. And then the top eyelid has this little wedge shape. And then its eyeball. And then it curves around that eyeball. And then we have a little tiny hint of the bottom eyelid. And then the iris. So knowing that the inside corner of the eye is right about here, I'm going to take another line that is parallel to those other tilt angles, and I'm going to place my eye on that same line, and it looks like it comes to pretty much about right there. That looks good, and we know that the outside corner of that eye, of this side of the eye, is right here. So we can start sketching in. It might be a little bit further in. I think this was the top portion of the eyelid. So we come here, and then the top comes up like so. And then of course, because everything's lifted and being pulled up into the eye, the bottom eyelid is overlapping the iris. And then he's got crazy eyes. And his pupil, I'm talking about myself. That's kind of funny. I forgot that I'm drawing myself. The pupil is like right on that line right there. Makes it look really dramatic. And of course we got all kinds of wrinkles and stuff. And you can see I need to reposition that eyebrow. And that's why I did it really light. So I can do that really easy. I'm going to make it darker than it actually is. Come around to here. And of course there's all kinds of wrinkles. We'll just do the blocky shape first. And let me take out some of these reference lines and rhythms. I'm going to narrow up the teeth a little bit. They're really big. Alright. I made my teeth like gigantic. That's okay. How about the hairline? Let's do the hairline real quick. Come here. Actually, before we do that, let's get that temporal ridge, that rhythm. See this in the Loomis? In the Loomis drawings, for example, he would take it all the way around, cut that in 4 quadrants, and it doesn't always line up. It rarely does. It's just like, it's more for like, I think it's more for understanding and reference. Understanding that the plane change of the head is more flat right here, and then it's very round on the front. So it's good to learn that, and then you can look for the characteristic of the person that you're drawing. I'm going to work on this contour a little bit, just bring that down. Okay. And look at the angle of the ear again. So let's go ahead and, actually let me sketch in the neck muscle real quick here. So we have the sternocleidomastoid, and it attaches to the sternum, and then comes up and attaches over here to the mastoid behind the ear, and it kind of flares out and then comes down to a thin point down here. And then it has the clavicular side. This little, it's like a little band. I'll talk about it shortly, but this little side piece of that muscle will come off and attach to the clavicle, this one to the sternum, and this one to the mastoid. Okay, I'm going to go into the eyes, just kind of draw some of these wrinkles on the lower eyelid for sure. Not going to get too crazy with it. Okay, come over here. I'll work on these eyebrows a little bit. So I'm looking at distance from here to here. That looks pretty good. I think it could be a little closer, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it. And you have these wrinkles that come across the nose. You have some what's called bunny lines that come right through here. No, actually come down the nose and into the corner. And sketch the border, like this little form shadow on the rim of the nose. I'll just come down here and hit this core shadow, or not core shadow, this cast shadow right here. Let's go ahead and put that in. Okay. Nice. So we got some wrinkles. Let's hit those crow's feet a little bit, because we need to talk about those and how they form. And you have this muscle rhythm, the Orbicularis Oculi, and the lines go this way, so the skin will wrinkle perpendicular to that, right across, directly across the fibers of the muscle. Okay. And we have this nasolabial fold right here. But we don't want to put that in too strong because we want to do the muscles. But you can see that rhythm all the way through. And then the mid-cheek furrow rhythm. So you have all this cheek fat right here. And then this rhythm comes down right into that cutaneous, that mandibular cutaneous ligament that I always talk about. It's like my favorite thing on the face, it seems like. Okay. So let me double check a couple of things. I'm going to check again the width of the face, because I changed a lot here and there, especially the brow. And so I feel like I need to double check my work. So I'm going to check the width and compare it to the length. Again, the same thing from the nose to the ear, and then chin to, looks like it actually comes to right about where the eye is at, somewhere about right here. So yeah, we need to bring it in quite a bit. So it's kind of painful, but don't when you gotta make adjustments like this. But believe me, it's so much better at this point in the drawing than when you have so much value and information down already. So we can just make these adjustments pretty quick. Yeah, I was feeling a little too wide. That makes a lot of sense. So come up here. Because I was looking at this distance from the brow to the hairline, and it was really a long distance compared to what I see. So that makes a lot of sense. So we'll just bring this over. Let's see. Make sure that lines up correctly. And then top of the ear came across right underneath the eye. Much better. Let me grab the Tombow eraser, because I can get a lot more control, and it erases a little bit stronger than the kneaded eraser. Nice. Okay, so then we have the hairline comes over. Much better. Yeah, okay. Much better. There we go. Actually, this needs to come up a little bit higher. Looking for that contour, and it comes down. You can see that change, an angle right about here, and it slopes down. Let's see the back of the head. Probably bring that in a touch. I'm going to bring the clavicles down in the sternum just a little bit. Not much, just a little. And then this other side, the sternal head of the 𝙃𝙚𝙖𝙙 comes over here. Remember I had that neck so thick earlier, and now it makes more sense. Bring it in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks like the tip of the nose too. There's so many things to change. Because I'm scrunching my nose up, and the tip of the nose is kind of like a little bit, it's like down further. It's almost like a hook. It's probably actually a little bit more than this even. But I think I'll just leave that for, it's good enough. I think we're close enough. So I want to get to the anatomy. Shadow again. Reestablish some of these lines. The philtrum, the lip, far side cheek, and this chin. This chin is kind of bugging me too. It needs to come over like this. There we go. All right. There's so much to talk about with the neck when I get down there. So when you're talking about like you can see because I'm lifting my face and using my facial muscles very strongly, so that will engage what's called the Platysma muscle, and it's like a sheet of muscle. It's very thin and it covers this whole area, and it will, when it flexes, it'll create these bands. It's called cording, and you see one right here that kind of overlaps all this muscle underneath it. It's a very, very thin muscle, the platysma. And when it's flexed, it'll look like 7 or 8 different muscles, and they kind of like wiggle, and they look like fingers on the neck. And it's kind of creepy looking, but it's actually just one big sheet muscle. It's really strange. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm going to change this angle a little bit too. So then we'll see more of that eye. All right. So let's start off with the bone, the zygomatic bone on this anatomy portion of the lay-in, the drawing. First, let's draw the ear a little bit. So we need to see where the tragus is. This is the helix of the ear, and then the tragus is that flap in the front right here. And that indicates where the auditory meatus is. And then from there, the arch, the zygomatic arch comes off. And it looks like it comes to about right here. And then we have the frontal bone right here, and this is the temporal ridge. And then this area right here is called the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. You don't really need to know that. Just this is the start of the brow ridge. And then this comes down into the arch. You can see the bone on my face. Comes to about right here. Turns the corner, comes up. Okay, so we have, so right here, let's just put, this is the auditory meatus. Meatus means passageway, so it's the passage for the sounds. And it goes into your ear, into your head, and all that. And then right in front of that, you'll have your mandible joint. And this joint is called the TMJ. That's temporomandibular joint. And we'll just bring that over to here. Let's see. Temporomandibular joint. That's right here. And that's why you can hear all that cracking in your jaw. It's because it's right next to the auditory meatus. And then the zygomatic arch has this little bump right in front, and then it comes over. Let's see. Where do I want to go from there? Let's go ahead and just place in the masseter muscle, this big muscle on the jaw for chewing. And it connects to this ridge of the zygomatic, and then down to the border of the mandible. So this is the masseter. Let's see. And let's talk about this corner of the mouth a little bit. This corner is called Modiolus. There's different ways of pronouncing it. This is how I pronounce it. And basically it's like the junction of where all these muscles intersect. So it's the intersection. And from there, let's start with the Zygomatic Major. Zygomaticus, excuse me, Major. And it comes right off the Zygomatic Bone. And it goes right into that Modiolus. And then you also have the minor, which sits up a little bit higher. It's a little bit thinner. It doesn't go into the corner. It actually will feed into the Orbicularis Oris. And that will be right here. It's a circular muscle. And you can see how the fibers run in a circular motion, and that's why a lot of times people get wrinkles in the opposite direction, right off the edges of the lips. And then another circular muscle is the Orbicularis Oculi. And that runs right here. And the Zygomaticus minor sits, kind of tucks in underneath it a little bit. So let's see, we have the Orbicularis Oris. Trying to decide where I want to put the words. Let's see, let's do Zygomaticus Major. And then right here is the minor. An interesting thing about this major one is sometimes there's a bifurcation in that muscle, and sometimes one end of that, one side of that muscle won't be attached to the modiolus. It'll actually be attached somewhere down here into the skin, into the surface of the skin, and that causes the dimple. So a lot of times you see people that are born with like a dimple, and sometimes they don't even have to smile and you can see the little dimple, and that's from a disformity in the Zygomaticus major muscle. Okay, so here you take this little rhythm out because I want to put the muscles in. So let's see, about right here, we have a really important muscle. It lifts up the mouth, lifts up the lips, and it's called levator labii. Labii is lips. Superioris, meaning above. Levator labii superioris. And right next to it is another important muscle. And it has a really long name. It shares the same name as its neighbor. And this one, let's clean that up so you can see it. This one has the same name, but then it has a lot attached to the end of it. So it's levator labii superioris, and then it's 𝙃𝙚𝙖𝙙 𝙏. That's a super long name, and if you remember that, you're a boss. You get an A+. So what that means is, levator, of course, is like elevator. Levator means to lift. Labii means the lips, and superioris means above. So it's lifting the lips on the top side. 𝙃𝙚𝙖𝙙 𝙏 means and the wing of the nostril. So this little tiny muscle is very long, and it's pulling the upper lip and the nostril, which is causing those bunny lines that we were talking about earlier. Remember when I was saying the fibers of the muscle go in one direction and the skin wrinkles in the opposite direction. And you can see that really well with the 𝙃𝙚𝙖𝙙 𝙏 muscle. Okay, so let's look at the corner of the mouth again. And we have the masseter over here attached to our zygomatic bone. And then attached into the masseter is a muscle called Risorius. It comes off like this. And it comes from a Latin word that means ridiculous or smiling or laughing. But in general, this muscle, if you just flex this one to the side, it will cause you to smirk or give an insincere smile. So I'll just go ahead and label it here. Risorius. Then down here we have a really cool muscle. You can actually see it in the photo. You see that rhythm for it. It comes like this, and then actually maybe a little bit further out. I think it's probably more like there. And some people call this the DOA. It's the Depressor anguli oris. So let's go ahead and take that over here. And that's also known as the Triangularis muscle. It's this one right here. See the triangle? Triangularis or Depressor anguli oris. And then off to the side, underneath there, you also have another depressor. And that's called Depressor. Whoops, I kind of messed that up. Let me fix that. Let's see, Depressor anguli, not anguli, Depressor labii inferioris. So up here we had the levator labii superioris. Now we have the opposite side. Instead of superioris, it's going to be inferioris. And instead of lifting, it's going to be depressing. So Depressor labii inferioris. And then finally down here we have the mentalis, which is coming from yet another direction. An interesting thing about the mentalis is it's connected about right in this area right here. It's inserted into the skin very deeply, so that when it is flexed, you'll see a pitting and like tiny little dimples in the skin, and it's called orange skin because it's similar to the surface of an orange with all the pitting. And you can see it a little bit in the photo here actually, if you look closely, because it is a little bit flexed. And also when in older people, it shows up more. So that is the mentalis. So you can see why it's good to know these muscles, because they affect so much of the surface of the skin and expression. So it's really important to at least have some idea of what is going on with the anatomy of the face. And it's really fun to learn. So let's see, let me just reestablish some of these. I'm just going to fill in some of the shadows. And then that whole cast shadow right here, just fill that in. Nice. Okay, so right here I want to talk about real quick the mandibular cutaneous ligament. And where can I put that? Let's put that over here. Cutaneous ligament. I don't know if I spelled that right. It's that cutaneous always trips me up, so hopefully I spelled right. So that ligament is really important because as we age, that ligament is going to remain in this spot, but because of the fat pads start to thin out and gravity and elasticity of the skin is more loose, we're going to start to create what's called jawing, and all the skin is going to kind of sag right here, but it won't sag because on this point on the mandible because of that ligament. So you'll see this a lot in portraiture. You'll see this little jawing right here, and then it'll meet up to the chin again, and then maybe have some more fat down here, but it's kind of like a clothesline where like clothes are hung up on the line and they kind of like droop, and then right here it sticks right to the bone because of that ligament. So let's just clean that up. Let's go to, oh yeah, another very important, for the surface anatomy, it shows up in a portrait a lot, is what's called the Buccal Fat Pad. And it sits right here, and it sits right on top of the Buccinator Muscle. So here's our mandible and our Buccinator Muscle. So the Buccinator Muscle is the one that you use to kind of chew and control the food inside your mouth, or if you're blowing a trumpet, and it'll be really flexed and strong. Let's see, where can I put that at? Let's see, I'll put this over here. So this is the Buccinator Muscle, and then the Buccal Fat Pad right here. Just put buccal fat, and this actually extends all the way through the face up underneath the zygomatic arch and then into the temporal side. But for sake of portraiture, you'll really see it right here. And some people have like these chipmunk cheeks, and a lot of times that's from the buccal fat being so large. And in plastic surgery, you can actually go in and ask them to remove part of it to make your face a different shape. So instead of like maybe like a square face, when they remove that fat pad, they have more of an angled face. So they'll go inside the cheek, cut a hole, pull that fat out, snip it off, and then sew you back up. So you don't have any stitches on the outside, it's all on the inside of the mouth. And let's go up to the brow, because there's some really cool muscles right in the middle. Let's see, so the first one, let me just sketch it first. So you get kind of like this really long muscle. And it goes from, it feeds into what's called the Frontalis Muscle. That's a big muscle in the forehead, and its fibers run top to bottom, like so. So this is the Frontalis Muscle. And so this muscle right here is called the Risorius, and it's either Greek or Latin. It means tall, because it's a very long and tall muscle. So hit that right there. And then right on the side, right about here, fanning out on both sides, is the Depressor supercilii. Is it 1 or 2 L's? I can't remember. I'm gonna go with 2. Depressor supercilii muscle. And then, so those two, the fibers are running long ways, so you get this wrinkle like right here. And then there's what's called the corrugator muscle, which sits right about here and over here, and its fibers go this direction. And you can actually see when somebody's outside in the sun and that is flexed, and you'll see a dimple right there. So, I ran out of some room over here. So I'll just write it right here. So this is the corrugator. Right there, corrugator muscle. So you'll see that all the time in portrait drawing, especially if it's like sunlight or something like that, or strong direct light in the inside. You'll see that being flexed. Okay, let's go over to the Orbicularis Oculi, and remember the fibers run circular, and that's why you get these crow's feet in the opposite direction, like perpendicular. Okay, and let's go ahead and the Temporalis Muscle. It's on the side over here, and its fibers run like so. Temporalis Muscle. So let's see, make sure I got the muscle labeled. Zygomatic Minor Muscle, Major Muscle, Oris Muscle, Oris Muscle there, Oris Muscle, nice, okay. Let's go ahead and just sketch a little bit of the ear. Kind of bothers me just leaving it like that. Okay. So let's go back to make sure I got all the muscles I wanted to talk about in the face. I mean, there's a lot of fat pads, superficial fat pads that sit on top of this. I'll talk about that in another video. But just know that the main fat pad, at least the deep fat pad, is the buccal fat, and it's really important because you can actually see in some people a ball, almost like they have like chewing gum stuck inside their cheeks. It's really quite interesting. Let's talk about the sternocleidomastoid. That's Sternal, how does it go? Sternocleidomastoid. I think that's how it goes. Sternocleidomastoid. Okay, so it has three parts. Sternum, that's where it attaches right here to our sternum. The sternum is like this necktie bone right here. Cleido refers to clavicular, the clavicle, which is right here. So we get this branch that comes down. And then the mastoid process, which sits right back here behind the ear on the back of the skull. And the muscle itself, it's really interesting. It has a couple of shapes. So the main muscle is like this nice cylinder round form. And it gets all the way down to a point. But this part, the clavicular head attachment, is more like a band shape. Like a ribbon, I should say. Like a ribbon shape, so it's flat. And this is round and then flat. I really like that. Kind of, it's really cool. And you see this triangle in people all the time. And it's important to know at least some anatomy of the neck when you're doing portraiture. So this is one. This is called the lesser supraclavicular fossa. Just know that there's a triangle right here. And of course there's always, there's triangles everywhere. You can see a big one right here. There's an upside down one but this one, just look for it and that'll help you locate the sternocleidomastoid muscle and the clavicular head, and help you sketch in those like half tones that get kind of confusing sometimes, and it's usually indication that there's some anatomy that needs to be understood in that area. Okay, so just real quick, I'm going to do a little bit in this area underneath the jaw, which is kind of confusing sometimes, but if you just kind of follow along, it'll make some sense. So you have a bone right here. It's called the hyoid bone, and it comes from Greek. It means U-shaped, and it sits somewhere about right here. And then underneath that, if you follow down, so if you make like a little box, it's like this will represent like the thyroid cartilage. You have the hyoid bone, and then right about here, you'll get the laryngeal prominence. And then right below that, in this area right here, is the trachea, deep inside. And you can actually feel the ridges. So you can feel like there's a tube, right, for your windpipe, and you can actually feel these little ridges. Right there, pretty much. Right above that sternum. So you can actually feel that, and definitely you can see this laryngeal prominence. Definitely, for sure, in portraiture. So if we take this, let's see, let's come over here. And that, how do you spell that? Like Larry? Prominence. And then this here is your hyoid bone. And of course that means U-shape. And then of course the trachea. You can feel that. It's kind of fun. You should try it right now. Just start poking yourself in the neck and see if you can feel it. It's really interesting. So let's talk about the platysma. The platysma muscle is really interesting because it's really, really flat and thin, and it's kind of confusing. Because if you don't know about it, you'll think like your neck muscles have all kinds like 10 different muscles and for some reason they reappear in different areas depending on what you're doing with your face. But really what it is one single sheet that connects into the muscles of the lower face just above the mandible ridge. So that it connects right about here. So something like right here, comes all the way down past the clavicle and then all the way up here. So you can see it on the picture here. It comes right over that, right in front of the laryngeal prominence. So if I take this portion out, and it overlaps everything. And it's engaged pretty strongly here because I'm using my muscles in my face, and it's connected to the muscles in the face. It kind of like feeds in. So it'll get engaged as well. And when it's flexing, it creates these bands. It's called banding. And some people really hate it. They think it's really ugly. It's really just interesting how that works with this really thin muscle. And you can see this in the picture. You can see like these contour lines on that band. Let's see, stretch out that hyoid bone. I was trying to write that really clearly, or I mean, like good penmanship, but it's kind of hard. I don't usually write very cleanly. Let's see, so you get like these bands. We'll get our clavicle here. So that's the platysma being flexed, and it overlaps all the other muscles underneath. And let's see, I'm looking at the shadow. I think I'll just leave it like this. I won't worry about the shadows on the neck. I'll just make it really confusing. Let me come up here and just kind of clean this guy up. I'm kind of dragging my hand over everything, getting it all dirty. I'll have to clean this up before I post it for reference. Let's see. So our shirt comes up here, and then comes over to this side. And just leave it like that. See, anything else that's really important for the portrait drawing? Let's see. So we got the temporalis muscle. There's two places. Okay, so the widest point of the head and the widest point of the face. The widest point, so what that refers to is, let's see, how do I explain it? Let me put a little head. Let me draw a little head somewhere. So if we have a face facing us, this is the front view of a face. You have the brow ridge, bottom of the nose, corners of the mouth, or something like that. So you can see how the head flares out this way. And the widest point of the face is, okay, so the face, when I say the face, I'm referring to like the thirds, right? Thirds of the face. So basically from the hairline, imaginary or not, and down to the chin and then the cheeks. So that's the face. And the widest point of the face is the zygomatic arch. Widest point for the entire head being top here of the head to the bottom is the parietal imminence. And the parietal imminence is right here. Almost misspelled that. And that's right here. Now, right here is the arch, and that'll be the widest point of the face. So you can probably make this a little bit more exaggerated. So you see how the parietal imminence is a little bit wider than the zygomatic arch. And the whole head is just all flaring. It's really interesting. Actually, people who have, remember I was talking about the buccal fat, if somebody has pretty wide, chunky cheeks like that, they'll go in and they'll remove that fat pad, and sometimes they remove too much, and they'll get this really deep curve into the corners of the mouth, and almost look like a skeleton. So you have to watch out for that, I suppose. But it's just really interesting how that buccal fat really changes the shape of the face pretty quickly. So it's really important. That's a really important one for the surface of the face. Let's see. Oh, I didn't talk about the nasalis. It's not a big deal. It's just it's a band of muscle that comes around like this and on this side. And so if I just come up here, nasalis muscle, and that just adds to those bunny lines along with the aliquot on the side, and probably also the Orbicularis Oculi. Let's see. Actually, let me fix that. That kind of looks like it's pointing at the platysma. It's not. So let's make the platysma. Let's see. The Platysma muscle, and that means flat plate. I think it's Greek. So that's this cording of the platysma, and this big sheet right here. So those two together, this is the cording of the platysma from the flexing, and then the flat sheet that comes and extends into the face muscles. I'll have to clean this guy up a bit for you, and I think that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that wasn't I mean, it looks really complicated. I guess it is, but just take it, step at a time, and maybe watch it and draw along and try to label things as you go. I try to make it clean as possible for you, but I'll have other cleaner drawings and labeling I'll do on as a handout for this course, so that it won't be as confusing. But I just wanted to show you how you can turn this into a really good study. Like pick your reference material and just do a nice lay-in, and then when the lay-in is all nice and clean the way you want it, and then you just try to at first use reference on the names and locate them and draw them in, and then as you move on to more studies, you can try to do it from memory, and it really helps. I mean, you'll see this in the face, and again, knowing all these muscles helps to see what really is going on the surface of the face as far as like midtones, because it can get really confusing. You'll see like a little pocket of, I don't know, like a pocket of tone on the light side of the face, and you're like, I don't know, I'll just put that there, but then it's not quite in the right spot. It doesn't line up with something else, so it looks disjointed. And oftentimes people who see the drawing won't know why, but they'll feel like something's a little off. And so this will really help just to lock everything in, and it'll help you to see better and look for things. So it's helped me a lot, and I think it'll help you too. And it's really fun. So, and I just love the history of all these names too. Like Platysma is like a flat plate and stuff like that. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys.